Call the meeting to order. Josh, excuse me, prayer and pledge. Prayer, pledge, during.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day, this beautiful day, and for all the many blessings of it. Thank you, Father, for allowing us to be here to conduct business at the county. Pray, Father, to be with this committee, that we'll make the best decisions for all those involved, for the county especially. Pray, Father, to be with all the many sick. Pray, Father, to be with them, comfort them, grant them things that they need to get better for your will. Thank you, Father, for all of your blessings. This is our prayer in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes. Report from Josh.
They're not in there. They're not in there, are they?
No.
They may not be in there. If they're not in that packet, they're not in there.
All right.
I guess that I'll start out with the budget, with what took place, which Tommy can say as far as exactly the way that needs to be. As far as the needs part that was already, put on there, obviously none of those, will be granted, so I don't know how that needs to be handled, from a voting standpoint. They just need to be voted down, is what I
can't answer that question, but if we're not gonna grant any, you don't ask for any, there's really nothing to address,
Okay.
I would think, Josh.
Well, I mean, that's, so I mean, that, as far as the 5-year plan, and that type stuff, I mean, I guess the motion would have to be addressed, as such, where, where it was not including the needs. But, obviously, with what took place last night, these numbers could be off because ours will be, we'll have $200,000 taken out of our budget. So that's with the way that deal, is going to be there. So I mean that our status quo budget is not really going to be a status quo budget. We're going to actually have a budget cut. Is my, is what you guys would be voting on tonight.
I still would like to go ahead and forward the needs to budget, just in case you turn a lot of money in, or
Okay.
there's a thing in there, plus
Okay.
it shows the need,
That's,
in case we have to come through halfway through the year or something, and say we put in for it, but we had to cut it because of things.
that's, like I said, I didn't know procedurally how that, I was not real clear on that part. And if anybody has further clarification, but I mean, that's about all I know to say on that. But that, you have a copy there in front of you as far as the budget goes, along with the, what we did put on the needs assessment there, and the 5-year improvement plan there on the last page there. If there's any questions, as far as, any of those items, I'll be, do my best to answer those. But that's,
I thought we had voted to buy a new compactor.
yeah, I mean, I've got all the information from Cindy, and then whenever we had already, compiled the, all of our budget information, I felt like it was best to put that on there. Since Cindy has gotten back with me, that the numbers that are on there, are certainly, if y'all would like to, go ahead. I mean, it was just approved for me to get the numbers and get back with you, is what we agreed to do. And, that, if that's something y'all, I mean, it's obviously, a critical need, as we talked about a couple of meetings ago, whenever you have a large event going on. And, we did have another guy come out there and work on that, but it's, I mean, it's held together with line strings and duct tape. There's no disputing that.
How much is in fund balance right now?
Well, there is I talked to LeBron today, which I was hoping she was gonna be at the meeting tonight, but whenever our portion of what we paid on the Hellmoss enclosure last year, it was right at the end of the budget, and whenever those invoices got turned in, so there is gonna be $250,000 come out of that whenever they get the budget amendment or transfer, like it's showing a negative balance right now. So whenever that, where that should have been taken out, we're actually showing, it's actually $246,000 more dollars in the fund balance than what, than what is actually in there on that. But what it's showing right now is almost 3.7, is what it's showing right now, which, as I said, that would be,
3.7 million.
yes.
I'm with Larry, though. I thought we done approved to go ahead and put that compactor in.
I sure thought we did, I didn't know.
I may be wrong. on that, but
I think y'all approved for me to get the numbers back to you.
I think what we did, Josh, is we approved it, and then you were gonna put the numbers together and make a budget amendment to the county, This committee's done passed it on.
Okay.
That's the way
All right.
we done that, wasn't it, Larry?
That's what I thought.
I mean, he didn't have his numbers together, so you can't
Okay.
present them until you have them.
All right, fair.
But I thought that's what we
I thought we did,
Well,
but
that's,
I could be
It's just gonna
wrong.
be back there in the back.
yeah, that's good, I'm good with that.
Can we approve the budget amendment even though it's not in front of us right now?
But Josh, if you've got your numbers together, we could go ahead and agree to vote on them, and that would eliminate any problem in the future wouldn't slow anything down then if it becomes that we
Yeah,
need to vote
well,
on it.
and that, what I put on there, the 75,000, Tommy, that was, that was everything, that would be, and of course, us digging, like we would trench the water line to get the water, up there to it, there's part of that we can, handle on our own.
But if you want us to make a motion and pass it where it'll be taken care of, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
In case Aaron says it needs to be done,
Yes,
if that would cover us and we wouldn't have to meet again.
yep, I'm totally
to do it.
good with
That
that.
way you can move
Making that
forward with the
motion.
project.
I'm just saying, I thought y'all, the last meeting, y'all, approved me to, get the numbers and get it together, but not actually, do the work until.
I thought we took it, like Larry said, that
Okay.
we were gonna pass it right on to the budget committee to go through.
Fair enough.
But if you think we need to vote on it.
No, I'm good with no vote. Yeah, y'all gave me. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Sorry,
Put that in a motion.
if we need to, yeah, we can make it. Whatever the number, I don't even know what the exact number is.
75,000
75?
for a budget amendment.
I know we discussed everything about it, but about the water being back there, the three-phase electricity is back there. All you need to do was get the compactor and build the pad and get it installed. I could be wrong about that, but I sure thought we did, I might be wrong.
Motion by Tommy, second by William, all in favor?
Aye.
Do we need to do the budget, the needs assessment, which I guess we need to reduce the needs assessment down by, it'll only be 20,000 going forward. Unless we, can we do it all together, or can we just, do we have to do separately? Make a motion to approve his budget as it presented. Also the needs assessment minus the 75,000 and also the 5-year plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Question. Josh, did I understand you right to say that we're losing money out of our budget?
Yes.
Would you?
Well,
You feel
this is,
good about that? You feel good about that?
whenever the employee pay plan, which I know several of y'all were at the meeting last night, but, you know, bottom line, you know, we started, you know, this pay plan study, which, you know, a lot of y'all have been involved on the steering committee and been to lots of meetings, as have I. And, you know, so started this, and long story short, got down to, you know, whenever the price tag came back, what it was gonna cost to get the employees from a longevity standpoint, where they should have been, and, you know, where we had to move as far as on the table to get in line with the other, I guess, government workers from other counties similar to ours. Whenever that number came back, that was a really big number. And there was only one way to fund that, and there were not the votes to make that happen for that funding mechanism, and plan, I'm not sure it would be B or C, I'm not sure how far down the alphabet you would get. Z, I think that Kurtz is probably correct on that, and put together, I'm really not sure that I'm eloquent enough to, I'm trying to, basically, you know, put together where we're taking the interest, originally $1.5 million of interest out of Fund 151, 1.1 million, out of growth, out of estimated growth for 25, 26, less a 1% step, $400,000 of an increase in judges' taxes, and the other $400,000 coming out of the term was recapturing it from the Ag Center, was the way that it was categorized. But that was the original plan, in which, you know, I know I talked to a couple of y'all individually regarding that, but that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the way that started. But whenever, I guess, the smoke settled, they raised that to 1.7 million coming out of the increase of the interest out of Fund 151, and reduced the portion of the hotel motel tax that would be taken from the Ag Center down to 200,000. Am I leaving anything out, Tommy?
No, the only thing, like Aaron said last night, I don't know what your total payroll is, but you can back an additional 6% out of that 200,000 for your payroll, because we're already figuring it on the front end. So it'll be slightly less than 200,000.
But that would be the Cliff Notes version there, Larry.
But the budget is still the same though, right? There's nothing been addressed to it as of now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You haven't taken any money out of the
No.
budget?
Tommy, are y'all making any kind of allowances for the increase in fuel and electricity and that kind of thing? I mean, I know status quo budget, and I'm looking at the line
Not in
items
his
here.
status quo budget. But Larry, anything that, we've got a great fund balance, you know that. So if Josh sees that he's running short somewhere, we'll fund it out of fund balance anyway. It
Okay.
doesn't come out, you know that as well as anyway, it doesn't
Okay.
come out of the county's general
Just
fund.
wanna make sure.
But there's money to cover anything Josh will need.
And I will say, whenever, I mean, I knew last year, I knew how much we carried over in the fund balance. You know, I was aware of that, and obviously with the extenuating circumstances and everything we had going on at the Ag Center, you know, that, but the prior 2 years, I did not realize that we had carried that much. So, with that, with that being said, that's that's where we are as far as that goes.
It's not good business really to start dipping into it. I'll be the first to admit that, because it could open a door. But the good that's gonna be created with the money we allotted to this plan last night, the good will greatly outweigh the hurt on the Ag Center. We just need to make sure that going forward, the county doesn't every time we're running short, get into the hotel motel tax and keep shorting the ag center of funds, and that's not our intention. But we were between a rock, I'll just be honest with y'all, we was between talking about a 15-cent property tax increase or this plan here. And so this is the direction the county budget committee decided to go in.
If memory serves me right, there was when we agreed to take the hotel motel tax to fund the ag center and stuff, there was a clause in there that said if it ever dropped below what the penny was bringing in, we would go back to get the tax rate.
Now, you're way ahead of that, with those 2 cents.
Okay. But that's still in effect.
Yeah, see, at that time, Larry, I'm thinking, I mean, I might be wrong on this, but I'm thinking at that time, that was, a penny was worth roughly 400,000.
Something like
A
that.
penny now is worth 900,000. And you're still way ahead of that by 55% of the hotel tax. That's why our fund balance has increased so well. That and good management, of course, we're not throwing it away. But there's more being held over every year from the increase in the motel tax. And that pretty well can be contributed. Mr. Hill can tell you this, the number of hotels that's been built in the county in the last 5 years. Now, that being said, last year it flattened off. But there's talk that there'll be a couple of more come online within the next year or two.
Yeah.
So I think we're in good financial shape, as long as we don't make a habit of doing this.
Building two, they're on Hartman Drive now.
Yeah, there should be, I think, 4.
Okay.
Will they forward total?
I think so.
One of them's
If I
almost
recall
completed.
correctly.
And I'm not an expert on that, but they're not building them to sit empty. The rooms will be rented and that will create.
I'm still
additional
waiting for
tax.
the one at the ground, on the ground.
Melanie or would Gail, either one of y'all could answer this question. What is our occupancy rate here now?
The what? I'm sorry.
Occupancy rate,
Oh, I do not have that information.
they don't give y'all that anymore?
They don't, I'll be honest, they do not communicate with us much at all. Now, when I
Mayor
have
in
large,
here?
when I have large groups come
Well,
in,
that needs to happen. Because it's important to all of you.
now Jason might have it,
Jason.
yeah, that would be my guess, is Jason would have it, because he keeps me posted on what I need to know,
Basically.
yeah.
Motion?
We got a motion and a second, we just.
All in favor?
And the next thing that I would like to talk about is the rental fee in the Made in Tennessee building. Since that building's came on board, I mean, it's, and Donna can double check me on this, but I think that we've got one Saturday open for this year, and it's, one of the holidays. I'm drawing a blank on which one right now, but, I think whenever, kind of ran that to start with, starting at $1,500. But in my opinion, what I would like to see us do is, allow for like a flex rate where we're charging more on the weekends than we were the weekdays. I would like to leave $1,500, on the weekdays and raise, the weekend days to $2,000 is what I would like to do. But I'm open for discussion on that, if anybody has any other thoughts. But that, to me, with the, as far as, seeing how, how often that building is rented out, I definitely think that, I think we can get that on the weekend days. The weekdays, I think that where it's at is probably, equilibrium-wise, probably where it should be is my opinion. But, you guys can talk about that.
Josh, are you looking at the weekdays as Monday through Thursday?
Yes.
And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday is
Yeah.
weekend?
Yeah. And of course, if you have something that's a multi-day deal, obviously, we have to have some, flexibility for, discounts, of that type thing. But that, to me is, I just think that, I think that if you're renting a building like that, obviously it should cost more on the weekends than it does during the weekdays. That's, just makes logical sense to me. The other thing is, with that building, the majority of things that are going on in there, are commerce-related type events. There are people that are making money, they're turning money, whereas opposed to, say the the school exhibit building or the Gentry building, you know, where those are mostly, you know, women having baby showers and, you know, that type of thing. You know, I mean, I'm not, you know, but the Tennessee building, the way I, you know, I mean, I think that there's some, you know, some dollars there that we could be recapturing.
You think 2,000 is enough for the?
Well, I mean, that's, you know, I mean, I would not want to, you know, price this out. I mean, you know, that's a, you know, obviously a substantial increase percentage-wise. But, you know, that's, you know.
Was it possibly set a little bit low to start with?
I mean, that's, you know, I mean, I would not argue with that. I mean, you know, I don't, you know, starting out, I mean, I don't really know how you know, I mean, obviously I wasn't there in high school, you know, you know, my opinion would be, you know, that obviously that's why I'm bringing it up today. I feel like that we, you know, we have some room there.
What's their square footage there?
That would be, what is the square footage on that, Don? It's 150 by 150, by 120.
It's
So-
18,000 square feet.
What does that come out to with your numbers, Gail?
Well, I mean, I'll be proposing a rate increase at the expo. So let's say you did the 2,000, half of the main exhibit hall, which is 22.5 square feet. I'm going to propose that it goes up to 2250. So you'd be right in line with that.
Okay, all right. And then of course, you know, like with South Hall, it's how many square feet?
7.
You know, so that, you know, I mean, that's, you know, and you're gonna put, you know, and that's gonna be looking at.
That's
what?
going to go up to 1,500.
Okay. And of course, you know, that, you know, it was carpet and, you know, a lot,
Right.
you know,
You've
as
got more
opposed to,
amenities,
you know,
yeah.
you know,
Built-in
basketball
amenities there.
gym where, you know, type thing. So I mean, those things, but that's, I mean, that would be, you know, where I would be on that.
And there's kitchen facilities in there?
No,
No.
no, that's, you know, as far as the, you know, obviously not enough storage room for the tables and chairs, number one. You know, no, I mean, it's bathrooms and a basketball gym.
Well, and I think one of your differences too is that those that rent the Made in Tennessee building, they set up their own tables and chairs.
Sometimes, we do, you know,
Okay.
for, obviously for another fee, you know.
That
we
can
do.
make, yeah, that can make a difference. So,
Josh, I just say you and Don are comfortable with that figure. Y'all know, have a better pulse on what the climate is and something like that. I think y'all know more than any of us. And if y'all are comfortable with that, I'm certainly comfortable with it. And, yeah.
You put that in a motion later?
Yeah, I put that in the form of a motion, and I also like to say too, and we've always done this, but Josh mentioned the fact that give them some wiggle room there that they might could negotiate one way or the other. Just make sure that the chairman of the director of the center still has the opportunity to negotiate if he sees it needs to do that. But I put it in the form of a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
excuse me, who's second?
Haskell.
Okay.
And then the last thing that I would like to, I had the opportunity Monday to go up to the FFA State Convention up in Gatlinburg. The Ward Ag Center was honored up there, and I just wanted to bring this, what they gave us along, you know, and say, you know, that it's, you know, nice for a state organization, especially the FFA, to, you know, to recognize the Ag Center and what a wonderful facility, you know, that it's been for them. And, you know, for, you know, it was, you know, just a neat experience to go up there and be recognized for that. And, you know, obviously, you know, everybody here in this room has, you know, played a much bigger part in that than I have with the short period of time that I've been here. But that was, you know, quite an honor, you know, to be the recipient of that. And, you know, we will definitely proudly display that in our office. And with that being said, you know, I know I've talked to several of you with you about the Stratton Bone archway, and which all the feedback that I got was that it was, you know, everybody liked the way that it looked, And the numbers that we got back on that did come back higher than what I anticipated. But, you know, on that, you know, the way that I look at that, you know, obviously, you know, it's, you know, something that will be there forever. You know, I think it's gonna look really, really good. And, you know, as far as, you know, Stratton goes, you know, I mean, I don't think that I would have made a trip to Gatlinburg to pick up that if it wasn't for people like Stratton Bone, would be my opinion on that. I mean, he, you know, not only served the county, but also at the state level, where he was the chairman of the Ag Committee whenever the Ag Enhancement Program was put into place. And I pulled those numbers today to see how many dollars that Wilson County farmers have received, you know, through that program, and that was over $5.2 million on that. So, you know, whenever, I guess if you look at it from a return on your investment, you know, that's a pretty good return on your investment.
Need a budget amendment for the amount of that?
Nope.
And I got my, Josh,
That's it?
you wanna make-
I would like, if you could maybe contact the paper and come over, at least get something put in the paper.
Okay.
'Cause
I mean, I'm not real good at that one, Stephen, but I'll do that.
it probably needs to go in there and just,
Fair enough,
we need all the good stuff, positive stuff as we can.
fair enough.
Motion for Josh's report.
Make a motion to accept his report.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, Gail?
Okay, so you've got the standard monthly report in front of you with the numbers. February came out to about $35,329.32 ahead of the expenses, which was a nice change of pace. So electric bill, water bill, that type of stuff kind of settled down just a little bit, so we've enjoyed that. The preferred provider program is continuing to be very robust and came in at $9,000 of money that came back to the expo through that program. So you can multiply that out backwards and you can see how much that's going back to local entities that are on our preferred provider list. So they're making money and they're happy, and so we enjoy that. In terms of our additional events, they are the last page on that stapled group. I also gave you a traffic report just to show you how many people actually came into the expo in the month of February. It was just shy of 20,000. So it was a very busy month. Of course, we're in the middle of dance events, so that's no big shocker there. And I also gave you the spread. I'm gonna have to break this down because it's getting kind of small to read, but across the years of how we've performed, and I'm already seeing a trend upward, so that's exciting to see that, because we had a little bit of a slump the last quarter of last year. So very excited to see that. Before I get into the rate increase, I wanted to take a moment to introduce Samantha. Samantha Mayhew is the new assistant at the expo. And so if you call, you're going to get Samantha, and she will help you out however she needs to. So this is her first meeting here, so she's learning. Doing my best. As far as our rate increase, so I've been looking at it, trying to find the right mark. I like to have a benchmark so I can always go back when it's a notable event to go back and say this is when this happened, and budget time is always a good time to do that. What you will see on the left-hand side with the blue highlight across the top is the rental rates, and then load in, load out dates. So back out I don't know, then was it 9 months after I came on board, we started charging for setup dates. And that made a huge difference in our income. Kind of the rule of thumb is if you're in the building, you're paying to be in the building. Because we got very busy very quickly and we couldn't afford to hold on to dates and not be collecting money. So if you're looking at the rental rates, right now the entire building rents for $5,500 a day, and I am proposing $7,500. I would be comfortable with 7 if I had to, but I think 7,500 is reasonable based on the market analysis that I did of similar facilities, similar square footage, similar demographics. Just looking at the overall picture, trying to see where we fit. That puts us right in the middle of the range. It's not like us reaching for the top. So we've got room to continue to grow that if we want to, but it definitely puts us at a better value. When people start looking at you and saying, oh, I can rent the whole building for $5,500, what a deal. That tells me we're not charging enough. They're not having to think about it. So
How long has it been since it's been a rate increase?
it's been 2 years. I had hoped to do it last year, and then we all know what happened in my life last year, so it didn't get done last year.
So we're still probably 2 or 3 years out from needing collecting this, right?
Well, that's part of what I wanted to talk about tonight, yeah. Right now, I'm just looking at the numbers. The process will be right behind that, but that's a good question. The main exhibit hall currently rents for $3,500 a day. I'm suggesting maybe it go up to $45. Half of it, $1,750. I'm suggesting it go up to $2,250. And South Hall has been at $1,250 for, I think, as long as the expo's been open. And because I've been trying to get the main exhibit hall ratio to be similar to South Hall, but South Hall needs to go up. So it's going to go up to $1,500 if it's approved. And then, of course, the breakdown, you can see the rest of the breakdown. And then increasing the setup days to be proportionate. The increase would be proportionate to the setup days. So making sure that the system is still the same, it's just the numbers have changed a little bit. So this is what I'm proposing that we do effective, I would say probably, well, I can do it in April. I can do it in April, I can do it in May. It doesn't matter. I'd like to do it at the first of the month so I have a benchmark that I can follow. To your point, as far as how far out before we see it, what I would like to propose, and it's going to be a little bit of a bookkeeping challenge, but I think we can do it. Now that I have Samantha on board and she's helping out with a lot of that, is when they book whatever the rate is at the current time, tell them that is their rate for the current year and still allow them to protect their dates for 3 years total, but the next 2 years will be at the current market rate during those years. So if we decide we need to increase the rates again, we aren't waiting 4 years before the rates kick in. Because we have some people just now rolling off of what they had before we increased the rates last time. So I'm trying to protect to not be locked in for a long period of time on the rate. I understand the dates, they need the dates for planning, but as far as the rate, that's what I would like to suggest. And then I made a list of some other things, and you can look at it, that there are other ways we can increase revenue. We can look at charging a standard cleanup fee. We have some events that are a piece of cake. We have other events like last weekend that, well, to say that it was a mess would be a gross understatement. And it took hours for the staff to clean that. So trying to find out where that balance is, but I would love feedback if you guys have suggestions on that. I also just looked at some special rates that we offer, making a couple suggestions on how we might just bump that a little bit. I think it's time when it comes to the Wilson County Bar Association and also the Nashville Roller Derby. And then looking at the comp dates. So DARE graduation uses the building, uses a half of the main exhibit hall for about 4 hours. And the mayor has given me direction that I need, if I'm doing it, if I'm giving it away and I'm allowing it to be for free, much like any of the other events that we've had, it has to serve the community. Now, I don't want to open a can of worms. I don't want every good cause coming in wanting to use it. But so I've tried to be strategic and pick 2 or 3 and have a strategic reason why I'm doing that. And the DARE program doesn't really require much of us except chairs. That's all. And Career Quest, I've done that strategically because it puts me in front of about 60 businesses. It's a lot easier for me to walk around the main exhibit hall and visit with 60 businesses than it is for me to go all over Wilson County and visit with 60 businesses. So there's a very strategic reason for that, and we've actually gotten new clients by doing that. So that one has paid off more than once. Another event comp that we have is the Ag Hall of Fame. That's just one day, that's in South Hall. That's not gonna make a big difference one way or the other. Probably no need to even discuss changing that. Naming right contracts, the naming rights contract terms. That naming rights agreement is coming due in May. We've met, well, Zendel and I met with the mayor, we've talked about it. I don't know what the current status is at this point, because I've had my part of the conversation. I don't know where we're at with that. And the only reason I put it in here is because in the current naming rights contract, they got 5 free days at the expo. And then setup days were added to that. So that all adds up. That all adds up. So that's why it's in here. I'm just trying to be transparent about what we're not charging for. Yes.
When you said 5 free days, do you mean for the entire building?
It's pretty much been whatever they want because the agreement was generic,
What do they typically ask for?
the entire building.
So, I got a follow-up to Tommy's question there. So
Yeah.
on the 5 free days on the naming rights deal.
Yes.
So the total, what were they paying for the naming rights deal?
They paid $45,000 a year for 5 years, and the value of the space that was allocated in those free days
Right.
ranged from 24,000 to almost 30,000 free rental space value.
So really the naming rights was,
15.
It seemed like a very good deal.
really? Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
So that being said, that's why that's being discussed. And like I said, I've had my portion of that conversation, but I am not, the mayor has it right now, and I'm not sure where we're at with that. I did email him yesterday and asked him if we have an update, and I have not heard back
And
yet.
I have one other follow-up to that.
Sure.
In the course of that conversation, was it discussed putting a sign on the back of the expo? You know, like whenever we have the events going on, in which I brought that up a couple of times to the mayor.
That was
last meeting.
actually discussed at the beginning of the naming rights contract, when they were discussing doing that, and I don't know the exact reason why it didn't happen, but it has been brought up, but that conversation is not gonna go anywhere until I know if are we renewing it as it is, as that contract is. The contract, if renewed as is, will increase the yearly amount by $900 because it had a built-in 2% clause to it, but it gives them an additional day free.
Okay.
So, I don't know. This basically, those are the facts I do know and what I don't know. Any other questions?
Are they using all those days?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a question on the cleanup. Y'all make, have them put a deposit down, and if it's gonna take more than a normal cleanup, you keep their deposit to pay for the extra
Oh,
time it's
yeah,
gonna take to
yeah,
clean
trust
up?
me, I don't hesitate keeping the deposit if we need that.
Make sure that,
Yeah.
because we don't want additional work put on you.
Well, but the catch is that when their rentals exceed their deposit, plus we have a cleanup. But, I mean, we've got a really good system. Zendel tracks everything, and then we assess the cleanup fee. Now, we have had a couple events of recent that have said, we don't want to be responsible for cleanup. We don't want to do it. We'll hire somebody else to do it. Okay, that's fine with me. I don't care, as long as it gets clean.
So what do you mean when you said that the deposit, if the rent is more than a deposit, so the deposit is
No.
not separate?
No, so the deposit in the contract is what holds the event on the calendar. And then 90 days out, we charge them the rent. So at that point, they pay their deposit and they pay the rent. Then after the event, let's say they rented a stage and podiums and upholstered furniture and whatever else, okay? Then we add all that up and we will take it out of the deposit. If they have an event on the schedule for the next year, that deposit rolls to hold that event next year, and then we just charge them the straight up fee for what they owe. So, yeah, they don't get out of it. They might fuss over cleanup fee, but they don't get out of it.
The event that y'all just talked about, Zendel, where they left in such a mess, was that the first time they had been here?
Who,
It's it's one of the dance competitions. We've done forever and a day since we opened, we've done these dance competitions. This is a new company that we have not entertained 2 or 3 weeks ago, they did their first. A
Which
lot
was
of these
smaller.
dance- Yeah, a lot of these dance competitions, they're under an umbrella, but they've got this one X and this is Y and this is Z, so they come in as different names. We had them 2 or 3 weeks ago as one name, and then they came back this past weekend under another name. And they did better the first week, or the first installment, but the second one was pretty rough, Larry, pretty rough.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure you've had a discussion with whoever books them
Yes.
as to whether or not if they want to continue to use the venue.
So,
Well,
yeah,
that's what we did, I'm sorry, yeah.
that's good.
We discussed that because they're wanting to renew for next year. So our discussion was, well, let's get these two under a belt and see how they do before we renew this contract. So I put together, I'll call it an after-action report or whatever, of the things that we saw that was not where we wanted them to be. And either Gail or I, one, will convey that to the person that's signing the contract. If they
And
need-
that will be part of the lead of the discussion as to whether or not I offer them dates for 2026.
We've kind of got the other ones, right now, we've already done 5 of these dance competitions. We got 2 more to go next month.
We're almost done.
Yeah. The other ones that have been coming for some time, I don't like to use the word train, but we've got them, we've kind of got them on the same page that, you know, this is what you need to do and this is what you can't do and things like that. And they've gotten much, much better. It's just anybody that new comes in that, way these things work, you have a person that signs a contract that never comes. They're the upper management, whatever, they send different people in to be the show director for that particular one. That number 1 never sees the contract, number 2 never sees our list of items that we expect them to do and not do. They tell us that all the time. I've never seen those documents. So we've got to find a way to get those documents in front of the people that are actually going to be on the ground at the exhibition.
So we've been trying to close in on that gap because there's essentially like three different groups and entities that are involved in one production.
Well, you know, back in the old days, we knew how to get their attention. You know,
Well, I mean,
yeah, you know how to do that.
we've come down from the point that, honestly, the best way to get their attention is to hit them with a charge. I mean, people don't read. They don't read the paperwork, they don't read signs, they don't read hardly anything, so that's the only other way I know to make that happen.
They understand the money.
Yeah, they do. They understand when they get hit with a big bill and have to pay it.
And
They
we
do
have some
listen.
that question it, you know, they'll come back, why am I getting charged for this? Well, I'll show you the pictures.
Did you have any other questions about that one?
Yeah, I do have a question down here, and I just gonna ask you what, you know, it says that frequency due to short durations. It means they're not there for a long time, like the roller
Yes,
derby going from
yes.
350 to 500.
Right, so Wilson County Bar Association is there for approximately 1 hour and 45 minutes.
Okay.
And the National Roller Derby is there for a sum total of 4 to 5 hours.
Okay.
So, and we don't have to do any setup, they just come in and skate around the room. It's pretty easy. So, we've allowed them to do that, it's never interfered with any of our other events, because they only want weeknights. They're not gonna come out on a weekend, so it's a way to capture some money, but they're really, because they also, when they book for a practice, they don't just book one, they book like 6. So we're able to capture the multiples kind of add up and make up the difference.
Yeah, I see here in the month of July, they're there several, 5 nights?
Yeah, yes.
And they do occasionally hold scrimmages that are a little more upscale,
Yeah.
but they have a separate payment system for that because they're there longer and we do provide some
They pay
tables
full
and
rate.
chairs and a few amenities that they need to do those scrimmages.
They never have offered that either one of y'all be a blocker or on the whip or anything?
No, sir.
Trust me, it's not the same thing you used to watch on TV.
Oh,
No, sir, but I'm not volunteering to go out there and be part of that.
Well, I'll make a motion for the proposed change in the rates.
William, you wait, let me speak 1 second
Yeah.
before you make that. Didn't we consider doing like we did last time, Terry? You know, you formed a committee, they met with Gail, they went through these things one by one and brought us back a recommendation, and then we voted to approve it. Would that be a sensible thing to do, take the time to walk it through them with Gail one at a time? And go from there?
In addition, are you talking just the rates and the
No,
7 days or the whole
The whole
thing?
thing, y'all,
Okay.
just like last time, you remember how we formed a committee?
I do, yes, sir.
And y'all came back with a recommendation, and that's ultimately what we packed.
I'm open to that, that's
And that way
perfectly
we
fine.
can address each one. That's a whole lot to digest to me at one time.
It is, and that's pared down. I
I
gave you the
understand.
abbreviated
Yeah, I
version.
know. That's just food for thought. I don't know, William may not want to approach it that way.
So I can withdraw, I know she said we're middle of the ground, and we want to be competitive, we want to run people off, but we also
Exactly.
want to make sure
Exactly.
that we're getting, this is taxpayers' building money, we want to make sure we're getting what we need to get for it.
And another reason that I want to stay very middle of the ground is it helps eliminate some of those fly-by-night things that are going, well, we'll just rent the expo, it's so cheap. I don't want that. That's not beneficial to us. So, you know, we're trying to maximize the number of dollars that we bring in every event. So, and I'm strategically phasing out some events that are not as beneficial so that we can bring in bigger ones.
But I mean, if we do it that way, we can, as the whole package, you can bring a presentation and we can pass what they recommend.
Withdraw my motion.
But no, I'm not asking, I mean, be comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable with this, but I want the entire committee to be comfortable also, so.
Well, I'd recommend that William be on the committee, be one of them.
You just got nominated.
I recommend Tommy, or the other.
I don't know, how many you had last time?
I think it was 3.
3 probably in the scale, I mean,
I
that's,
was pretty sure it was 3.
you get too many heads together and you won't be able to agree to anything.
But that would help present it in a very digestible manner. And I've researched it, but I would love the feedback as
I
well.
like fees better than I do tax increases. On the record.
well, the mayor just been in here, Gil, talked about the naming rights in terms of the contract. Mayor, how's that negotiation going?
Still working on it. Still working.
As you negotiate, can you have them get a discount on the days that they use it?
Yeah, we're gonna work through that, and I'll bring that back to you.
Because we don't give them everything.
Will it be put out to bid, or will they have the exclusive right to re-up?
I'll have to get back. I've had conversations with Farm Bureau, had
Okay, yes,
conversations
sir.
with our finance director and conversations with Mike today. So I will get back to you when I get a definite answer. I don't have anything right now.
Yes, sir.
So we need a motion to form a committee, I'll make that motion.
I say,
All in favor?
all right,
Uh,
Ready? Bill report.
you need to get on it pretty quick.
Who, what?
So you need to get on it pretty quick.
What did you say?
Yeah,
You
I
can't
think you
speak
got
up.
nominated.
Is that all you have, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Approve the report? Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Single?
Alrighty, all I've got is the status quo budget. It should be, this sheet. it says Expo Center in the top left. That's just status quo from this year to next year. Same numbers, no changes. Second page or second part is the 5-year plan of items that we've got some thoughts on that some will need to be accomplished, and maybe a couple of them might be wants. And then the very back page, it's got the orange is a needs assessment, a couple items on there that we feel would make life a lot easier. That first item is retractable window coverings. When the building was built with those windows on the east and west walls, to let some ambient light in, does a good job. So somebody comes in that doesn't want light to come in. And we're seeing numerous, especially these dance groups that we're talking about, they want those windows blacked out, and they're having to get up there on ladders or lifts or whatever, and they're putting paper and plastic and things like that up there to cover them. And they're even turning our lights out and using their production lights to eliminate the stage and things like that. So
Well, even some of the banquets.
even some banquets that
Yeah.
come in that using stage lighting, they don't like that ambient light. The second item on there is a digital sign out front. I know we've talked about that off and on. It's just to give people directions around the expo and around the grounds themselves where events are happening on a daily basis. We have, I can't put a number on it, but we have a fair amount of folks that are coming in the front door and they're lost. They don't know where they're going, which building they're going to on the ground, what time they're supposed to be there, or anything like that. So we feel like an information center a lot of times. And we get these folks that are coming in during other events, which they see the cars out front and they think, well, this is where I'm supposed to be. So, like I said, that's a couple items that would make life easier, but if funds are not there, they're not there.
Questions for Kimball?
Questions?
How big's the digital sign?
I'm sorry, what?
How big is the digital sign that y'all want?
Digital sign that I got some quotes on ranged between 6 feet and 7 feet, with an opportunity to have acknowledgement of whoever supported it, if we were able to find sponsors for it at the top. But it was static, and I asked them to price it out, so that said Expo had 4 lines, like technically I could have 6 events in the Expo, we've never had that, we've had 4. 4 for the Expo, and then at the bottom, at least 4 to kind of redirect traffic where we could digital, like what Donna does on the big
Yeah,
board
on
out
the
front.
marquee out front.
But it's what they would be looking at, like you pull in the front gate and you get to that stop, that place to stop, that's what you're staring at. Because the sign that is the brown sign that's out there, that's not where everybody stops. So by the time people stop and they're like, oh, where do I go? They've already passed the sign. And there's no direction to that sign. It just says the name. So it would be very helpful. It's not gonna make or break us, but it would be very helpful. It's also a great way to cross-promote events on the grounds, so that if we have something in the Expo and Josh has something out on the grounds and somebody wants to participate in both, that they know it's there.
What if we could work this in on the naming rights? Add this sign in.
Yes, I have thought about that.
Split over however many years, won't be an incredible amount of increase.
Another question for
Yes,
you. I know we have to prepare a 5-year plan, but for the last 2 years at Leeds time, we've been talking about the sound system. And here we are at budget time again, and I hate to be on your back, but
No,
do you have us a
stay on me.
number?
Please stay on me.
I thought that was our number one need is what,
So, if I could speak, I actually had a company contact me today about it. So hopefully we'll have them out there next week and get hopefully some prices.
approaching the year, we've been waiting on a number to go forward with.
These companies, I don't know what the deal is, but they, when we bring them in and show them and tell them what we want, they really have drugged their feet in getting the numbers back. I have another company, separate from the one Aaron's talking about, that, they're putting a proposal together as well. They're local. And, you know, the last 2 weeks, he's had his estimator on vacation, he's been on spring break. That's what I've been told, but yes.
I realize it's a real need. We cut the governor off last year, didn't we, Jimmy? During the ham breakfast.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you have an estimate how much you think it's gonna be?
It's gonna be, depending on how much we do. The previous proposal that we brought up, we were looking at LED monitors, similar to what's in the Made in Tennessee building. With using 2 of those in the main exhibit hall, plus all the sound systems and everything, you're touching $500,000 on that one. Without the LED monitors and just upgrading the cameras and screens and the speaker systems, we were around that $300,000. Now that's an old bid from another company. I expect things to be a little bit more expensive because it's been a year.
But I can say that the sound system and just the technology side of things is the biggest headache for the event centers.
We fight it.
We
We
fight it.
should
And I
have had
think
those amounts tonight so we can include that in the needs assessment.
I tried, I really tried.
I know I spoke
That's
with
where
you.
we left it a year ago.
I say, I know I spoke with him a while back, and you'd already talked to a couple
He
different
has been
companies. and
diligent
couldn't
about
get
trying.
anybody to
We'll be
bid.
looking like this.
Well, I mean, we've got to have a number to meet about it for me.
I'm just saying if they can get it in by the time that
Yeah, I don't know the exact date, but now, they've been working on this for over a year, really, hadn't they?
This is the,
I'm not trying to be on the back, but the only way we can move forward is we've got to have a number to move forward with and know what we're going to try to purchase.
We've met with several companies. We've had, with the latest company, we've met with them at least 4 or 5 times, just getting the solid numbers because it's so much and because the infrastructure is not really in place to even do an easy upgrade on it. That's,
I understand it.
because they're talking about having to rerun some cables and wiring and
there's not
Now,
conduit in
that being
place.
said, Mayor may correct me on this, but we don't have to do this at budget time. We can do it any time because it's going to come out of fund balance for the Ag Center. So we have the ability to do this at any time, correct, Mayor? So it is a
Trust me.
pushing need, but it doesn't have to meet a deadline for budget. But I'd say we left this in the same way a year ago. I know y'all been working on it, but
Additional caveat is if we don't shortcut this and do it right and do it well, then we have the option to be able to charge for some of the services. I'm not saying that we're gonna make back everything that it costs to put it in, but when you start losing sound and AV in the middle of an event,
That's gonna eventually start costing us again.
that's correct. That is correct. I've got a couple that that's the first question they ask every time they call.
call that man on a pretty regular basis over there.
And
Yeah, we pretty much make him run a lot.
we're constantly doing small fixes just for example, tomorrow we're going to replace 4 amps in the South Hall. It's kind of like a Band-Aid just to get it to work. We've already replaced the mixer over there twice. And we're also looking at just replacing the amps over in the main exhibit hall, just kind of like Band-Aids, and IT's covering these expenses because again, it's either they lose events or I get caught out of bed on Saturday morning. So,
And this is not working. I need
if it's
help.
going to affect what we're going to rent it for,
Correct.
we need to get the numbers before we
Correct.
raise the rates. We need to see how much it's going to cost and try to build that into it.
we do have a price from, what's the company, the Lance's company?
AV Plus.
But that was approaching about $1 million. And based off dealing with them before and also looking at other companies that's extremely high.
Well, that much, we've got to get multiple quotes anyway.
Yes.
so.
I'll make a motion to accept the budget, status quo budget, the needs assessment, move it forward, and also the 5-year plan.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Question. Maybe we might spark some interest. Would it be possible to put this out for bid? And see if any companies kind of reach out to us and give us some prices, and then from there, you guys could potentially approve it. I don't know if that's kind of working backwards or not.
Do you have
Specs?
plans for what you specified plans that could be put out to bid?
Yes, sir.
I assume that's very possible, isn't it, Mayor?
Say again, sorry.
I said, I assume that's possible, as long as we have specified plans for what we're wanting to purchase, couldn't
Basically, we'll put out a bid, request for proposal, and basically have companies come to us and see if that sparks some interest. Then at least we'll have those figures, and then this board can either approve it or not approve it.
But the plans have to be an agreement between all parties involved now. Josh,
I'll work with Lavanya, and then from there, if we present it, and then we get to you guys, and go from there. Hopefully, we'll have it done before budget.
Mr. Aaron and Zindel, do you all know what you need as far as upgrades go? The type of equipment and what we're gonna need to have to where the, like Gail says, we're not spinning the pig in a poke, but we need to have a good equipment. Y'all know what you need as far as that goes, or?
You know what you just said?
We know that we need overall
I've been accused of buying it.
more speakers, better sound, especially in that main exhibit hall. You've been in there, Larry. It's just, there was just never enough speakers put in that room to cover the whole room. And we're seeing the projectors in the South Hall area coming up on 9 years old. Technology, they're obsolete already. And what we're looking at over there is probably upgrading them with a laser projector that Aaron talked about. It's much better than what we got with the pull in it now. Screens are good. That's not a problem. Screens that are a problem is in the main exhibit hall. They're undersized for that room. So we were looking at making them larger and maybe a little better quality. If we don't go with the LEDs are, you can, whatever light level you have and everything, it doesn't really affect it. So it's just needs to be revamped. And it needs to be made so it's ease of operation, because right now you gotta stand on your head and hold up one arm and push this button and.
And don't breathe.
Not that bad.
Well, just make sure you write your specs to what you need, and don't spec anybody out.
No,
that's
exactly.
Some of those people that have, specking something that they don't have, nobody has it but them.
Well, that's why I'm relying on his expertise as
Well, I'm
far
sure,
as.
yeah, he knows. But
Motion
get
made
good
by-
equipment, yeah.
Motion made by Williams, second by Haskell. All in favor? Aye.
And Terry, William, whenever you ask, as far as, I don't need a line item transfer to approve on the archway for Stratton Bone, but I would like a motion made, to approve that where, since we are making an addition to the grounds there.
Make the motion for the proposed signage,
That works.
Stratton on.
Second.
Second.
Motion by William, Larry, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Alan McPhee.
Thank you. I hope everybody's got August the 14th through the 23rd marked on their calendar. There's been a lot of work going on into the planning and everything on this. The theme this year is going to be Going Hog Wild and Bacon Memories at the Wilson County, Tennessee State Fair. Our ag commodity promotion focus is the year of pork. So there's a lot of planning going on for this. The Sky Ride, everybody knows that the poster up and the cabling is in there. They have still got to do load testing, still got to be painted, still got to put the fencing up and those kinds of things. So we're anxiously awaiting those things to be done. I'm going to do a lot more ag education along with our ag commodity partners helping us this year. We have already met with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. Their support and what they bring to us during the fair is tremendous, and they already have brought new members in for that. Tennessee Beef, Tosh Farms, Tennessee Pork Board, they are all on board to doing more this year. We go speak to the Tennessee dairy producers in the morning for some funding for our dairy parlor and some things like that to go with that. We'll go to Cookville in the morning for that meeting. We will continue to plan with our Tennessee Corn Board, Forestry, Soybean, and the Cotton Board. We're hoping that we will have a display on that this year. The relationships, their expertise to do all of this is huge for the fair, and we appreciate them helping us educate all of our fair goers. Nursery and landscaping competition, that's already being worked on this year. Christmas tree competition, so we're hoping that that will be even increased this year in the Hill Moss building. Sherry and Anna Kate just got back from the FFA convention also. So they were up there with Josh, so they were checking on each other. And they had the opportunity to meet with our ag commodity partners and also working on our youth competitions for this year. We attended the 4-H Congress to promote the fair, and we received the Friend of 4-H also for that. So it's always nice and a huge honor to be recognized that we are helping our youth for our future. The 4-H building has got an exhibit being built now to preserve the history of 4-H, and this will be in the 4-H and the FFA building. And Mr. Ben Powell was instrumental in that idea, and Mark has told us that he is excited that that is being built and that's coming to fruition for that. 4-H and FFA, we had over 2,600 youth last year participate in the youth competitions. So 4-H and FFA are both working hard to increase those competitions, and so we're excited about that. Our outside crew is already making repairs, painting, replacing rotten wood floors. Handicap ramps have been added to enable people with wheelchairs or having trouble getting up to the buildings in several of the buildings in the Grove. This is going to be helping our docents in Fiddler's Grove to share more educational stories about how people lived and fed their families, and why houses were built with a dog trot and detached kitchens and smokehouses. Buildings, that we are building more exhibits and benches to sit around during the fair. Master gardeners have already been planting flowers and to use during the fair, and they've already started work on the landscape. The Orange Gate had termites, so the whole side and the front had to be replaced, and so that has been done and it has been painted this year. The Massey and Smith properties has been surveyed. There's already a new road coming in to get people off the interstate and find people around to give us more time to get people off the interstate and onto the ground. So we hope that that's going to be a huge improvement traffic flow wise off the interstate. I'm sure everybody was invited, but I want to make sure that everybody knew that John Rose announced his candidacy for governor last week. So that was an honor for that to be done on the Ag Center. We hosted the Middle Tennessee Fair Workshop last Friday. We had 13 counties there to attend that. There were also workshops in East and West Tennessee getting ready for this year. We also went to Ag Day on the Hill last week on Tuesday and meeting with our state legislators. And Terry and I just getting back from the Midwest Fairs meeting where a lot of the general managers and state fair managers were at. And also being a part of the International Association of Fairs and Expositions, they are conducting an economic impact study. And Tennessee has already gotten all of their information in on what fairs are contributing to the state of Tennessee. And they are saying that the total economic impact for fairs is $168,494,937. So that being a part of this, some of the fairs have paid extra money to have this done. And so we have put in for them to do an economic impact study just on Wilson County, Tennessee State Fair. So, any questions?
Ellen's report.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussing of the Ag Learning Center.
Lucas not here?
Look, I talked to Lucas this afternoon. He is not. He's got all three of the girls. But I know if Lucas was here, he would say the Ag Hall of Fame banquet is Tuesday, April the 1st. And they've already sold 440 tickets. So it should be, it should be a lovely evening there at the expo.
Well, this is a discussion that we've had for quite some time. I kind of wanted to come to you tonight to see about seeing if we could make some headway on where we are. Since October the 1st, 2018, we've talked about a birthing barn. And it was kind of a vision of Tim Edwards at the time to have a place out there for animals to be birthed and all that. And it kind of grew over time. Name changed to an Ag Learning Center over the last 7 years. I'm going to give you a little bit of history, but the reason I'm here tonight is because Commissioner Jones really has had a passion about seeing this happen as well. So if you go back and think about the birthing barn in the beginning, it was a building that I think everybody was on board for because of what it was going to do and what it was like. The location was going to be out in front of the Q barn, and at the time, I think we all thought that's what it was going to be like. As Mr. Edwards began to explore and see opportunities and things that maybe could arise from that, it grew. It grew to 2 stories with a culinary top to it, some hydroponics in the middle, a vet center, a hatchery, and a different kind of a show place and what's normal for a barn that we have out there. So as it grew, there were lots of discussions, lots of opinions. I was hearing it from both sides. So we finally had a meeting over here, if you remember, in the commission room and said, hey, look, where are we at and what we want to do. And at that night, we said, hey, the plans that Mr. Oakley had drawn up was adopted and the location was determined. From that time forward, there were again more discussion. Our director at the time that runs the operation out there did not think that that barn fit from what his operation was and his view of the cattle complex. And he made that known, and we had lots of conversations with all parties about moving it down to where the ball fields were, maybe in a different location. None of that ever seemed to pan out. It never worked. So it was still there. Then he came back to the Ag Committee and convinced them that really what needed to be there was out in front of the Q barn and the size of the Q barn, and that's what that was the last vote that you had. Since that time, We've had several discussions and it's not going away. So my hope tonight was to find some type of happy medium to make this barn a reality. And I'm going to start out, and I know I haven't asked you this, but I'm going to put you on the spot, Mr. Jones, if you don't mind. Tell us why you think this barn is important.
This barn is different from any building on the grounds. This is about educating people about agriculture yearly, every day of the year. Not this month or the fair month or whatever. And the building has the ability to showcase different aspects of agriculture. If we have an exhibit set up in there and it becomes stale, for lack of a better word, we have the ability to change it and put something new, go in a new direction. It can be kept current and modern all the time. But it's my dream to have an educational facility. When I approached the county court about putting $2 million into this project, and you can testify to this, I presented it as an educational building, not an exhibit building, an educational building. And that's what I want to see built. There's certainly nothing the matter with the birthing barn and the fair and the birthing portion during the fair. That's a wonderful thing. That's what created the thought of this. But it can just be so much more than that. If everybody get on board, we have a good start, but we just got to hit the ground and go to work on it.
And so from that conversation there, though, as I talk, and I'm going to ask Mr. Major to speak in just a second, you know, I thought, well, all of us want a barn. I've heard Terry McPeak say, I've heard Mike Watkins say, you know, we could use another barn to get bigger shows. But this barn is a different barn. It's not, the end guts of it are not the same. And if what Mr. Jones talked about, there was somebody there to run that hatchery and run the hydroponics and all that, and it stayed open, that's a great idea. But if nobody's there to do that, and nobody on your staff will do that, then that becomes wasted space. And so I think that has been kind of a point of contention, because we did look at it, me and Mr. Watkins and Josh, about could we have horse shows in there? Could we have barrel racing? It's not wide enough for barrel racing. The knee wall and the concrete limits that area. And so, but again, to have what his vision is and what Tim's was in the beginning, and then have something that's usable, that's where part of the rub is. Can you speak to, and I guess me and Josh talked many times about, let's make this happen. There was enough money there possibly to get another barn, but the use was the issue, and we tried to get on board with each other. And can you give me any?
Well, I would like to start by saying, you know, Tommy Jones loves the Ag Center, and I love the Ag Center. And that's the way I would start. Much as, you know, parents may, you know, whenever they have a child that graduates high school, one parent may think that, you know, maybe it's in the best interest of this child to go to college. The other one may think maybe it's in the best interest of this child to attend vocational school. They both want what's in the best interest of the child in this situation. Tommy and I disagree as far as the location of this building. You know, as he explained, you know, it is something designed to educate, you know, children as far as about agriculture, you know, every day of the year, which I am all for. My family has participated and had animals in the birthing barn, you know, for many, many years, and I'm a strong proponent of that. But as Tommy said, you know, that, you know, with this designed to be for those educational purposes, my opinion is that, you know, in the middle of the livestock complex is not the place for that, is what my opinion of that is. You know, now with that, you know, with that being said, you know, are there, you know, if that's something that you guys decide to vote to do, you know, I mean, that's, you know, when we find uses for that, you know, I mean, absolutely I would work, you know, to find those uses. But, you know, to me, you know, it's, you know, the design of it, you know, this would be a standalone building, you know, somewhere where it had its own, you know, where it had the ability, where there would be no interference as far as the other events as far as taking place in there. And that would be my opinion.
So as he talked, and you heard both sides, and everybody in here tonight cares about the Ag Learning Center, the Ag Center itself, and so both of them are there. The location of it somewhere else completes the dream, but it's been a contingent to say, hey, we want it there. Now, there'll be some conversation that said tonight to ask you to move the road and move the fence. And you'll say, hey, you know, if it was the right size or whatever, then we wouldn't need to do that. But if you remember, we came to you guys and said, hey, look, we think the barn that Quentin was fixing to build fit better down below where we had this barn set for, because it kind of matched everything. So we asked to flip, and everybody agreed to flip it. So we flipped it. So that's why it's up the hill. And it will require for the road to be pushed out and the fence to be pushed out, and that will be expense of the Ag Committee to pay for it. It will not bother the new command center that's being built out there, according to Jerry Warren. We did ask him to check that. So that piece takes care of that part. I've continued to try to talk to both sides to do the best I can. I work for him and I work for him. So, and I work for you. So as I reached out to Mike and Mr. Major and said, hey, look, tell me where we are. So we staked the building out to make sure we knew where it was going to go. Made movements of Middle Tennessee Electric, needed to move poles or whatever, so we did that. Made sure Jerry Warren was good with the stormwater detention, didn't mess up anything there. So all that was good. So then we said, we don't want to build a building that we can't use. Phase 1 was really not usable. When we got through with phase 1, with the way it was designed, I still couldn't use it. I had to wait for somebody to raise funds to finish it out. I said we needed fans, we need lights, we need bathrooms, we need water. So Mike went back and got that cost, and that cost for the total barn, the last time that I checked here, was $5,151,813. So I'm talking with Mike, and I see Tim here, I didn't see him here, I'm sorry. You know, I wrote down what the revenues were. $2 million that Mr. Jones got. At one time, and I know there's been discussion since then, there were still, out of the $1 million that was appropriated to the state fair funds, $932,000 left in that. Bank statements on donations were $533,000. Contribution from random people in the bank at $187,000. Cash on hand at $236,000. I'm not giving the small numbers either, sorry. Cash promised at $180,000, and the Beef Council promised letter of $25,000. I'm still about $1 million short to be able to start. I didn't want to put out an RFP for a construction manager to start the project unless we had enough money to finish phase 1. And so that's kind of where I've been with that. I know there's been some discussion about the state fair funds, and you sent me 2 or 3 letters. I understand that. Understand where I deal with the Ag Committee. When you rent the grounds from us and put on your fair, that's your business. And if you have Mr. Edwards in your fair, that's your business. That's not my business. And to my knowledge, those funds that came from the state are your funds, not my funds. They run through our accounting because we have to accept them into here. No different than we accept special ed money into our account here when the school system wants to move it. I can't tell the special ed people they can't move it, and I clarified that with Mike and with Aaron Maynard both. But right now, the County Commission has designed it to go to the Ag Learning Center, and I know that was an intent when we applied for the grant, or you guys applied for the grant with the state, and I'll let you speak on that if you would like to. And you don't have to, I just know that's part of my funds that I'm worried about.
This is just some things that has occurred, if everybody will pass it out in the communication that has happened with that. After we were awarded the Tennessee State Fair, we began to travel around the United States to other state fairs, to other learning centers, because we really did not know how we needed to be operating a lot of parts of the fairgrounds. And so as we did that, we saw some things that was totally different than what we were currently doing. But one of the things that we saw that troubled us the most was the live streaming of an actual birth, because of the liability that we had, that the county had, that if something went wrong in that birth, of what PETA could do to us. We found none that was streaming. We found none that was actually doing the live birth filming there. What we saw was there was animals in a learning center, and there was a TV up above it that had actually filmed the birthing prior. And they had a cow and a baby cat there, but there was nothing live streaming being done. So we approached the group about that, and you have some letters here, and you have an agreement that we reached with Tim in May of 2023 to stop the live streaming and the process that we needed to do there in the barn. The first letter that you have has been our concern about what Mayor Hutto has already touched on, is there's not enough room over there to enlarge the barn. We agreed to a barn the size of the Q barn, and we still are in agreement to that. And that was the $1 million was to be allocated to that. The money that we have got there, according to the state this afternoon, is allocated for a learning center. That learning center can be used in any aspect that we need to use it in on the fairgrounds. It is not necessarily this building or anything else. It's to be used as a learning center. The first letter you have is December the 5th of 2022, where we addressed to Tim and the group our concerns about the size of the building and that nothing was happening to it, and that we needed to have a plan by February the 1st of 2023, which we never received. The second document you have is a copy of the agreement that we agreed to on May the 18th of 2023 in regards to the procedure and stopping the live stream. The last is an email to them on October the 7th of 2024, where we actually addressed that things have changed at the Ag Center. We built a 4-H and FFA building since this all began, and that they have room now to do their own. We built a building in the back of the fairgrounds for agriculture. We built the Hale Moss building that's for agriculture. So a lot has changed, and the needs that was there when this process was started and the needs for a larger building do not exist any longer. And why cause problems to the livestock area in the having a larger building when there's really not a need at this time for that? One other factor here is that right before the fair last year, Tim and his group went live on Facebook actually attacking the fair because of the policy that we had took on the live stream and how we were operating. We operate with some 2,000 volunteers. We operate with committees. We want the committees to function. They have to report. But we've never had that type thing again, and we cannot allow that type of thing. So we have made them known that they cannot be part of the fair due to what has happened with that stream. So that's currently where we stand. We believe in what they have done. We believe in Tim. He's done a great thing there. The times have changed. The Department of Agriculture is in the process of asking for $30 million for a learning center to be built here at the Ag Center that was going to be at the Ellington Center. We hope that Andy Hope may get here before this meeting is over. He got caught in a meeting in the governor's office and it's not got here, but he's en route now. But that's currently where we stand, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you for that. And so my intent on discussion tonight is try to, again, form some kind of consensus. I know what you want and what your dream is, and I want to go away from the fair and Tim and their relationship. That really does not have an issue here with me tonight. The dream that he had has been picked up by Mr. Jones and said, hey, we need an Ag Learning Center. The issue with the Learning Center that Mr. Jones has talked about is really the guts on the inside of what that barn, because everybody agrees a barn would be good, but it's got to be one that's usable. So I need some type of consensus to how to make that happen. Because if that happened, then Mr. Clemens, I want to go back to you on this. Your funds towards the Learning Center that was in relationship with Mr. Edwards is one thing, but you're good with a Learning Center that the Ag Committee would be in favor of, that's run by the Ag Committee with those extra funds. Is that a correct statement?
That's the size of the community.
And again,
That's
we'll
what we committed to originally. We're standing by our word on that, even though it won't be operated during the fair, but we're standing by it.
Yeah. So the discussion becomes back, let's get a Learning Center, let's find a size that we can live with, and then let's move forward with that. Now, I don't know if changing the size or how that works really to make us move forward. I know I'm $1 million short right here that I would need to really kind of move forward with the size of the building I've got now. But those are, I mean, that's kind of where we are. And we could get into tons of discussion tonight, but I really would like to just say, I want you to go off and think about this. I want to come back with some type of consensus to where we can find something that we can build a Learning Center, because that's a goal, to have a barn that everybody can use, that's workable for all people. And I don't see why we can't do that with the funds that we have allocated here, and everybody, as we said earlier, is doing what's best for the interest of the Ag Center.
I have a question. So what's going to be the difference in the one proposed from the Department of Agriculture with the state 30 million versus what we're trying to do now?
I don't know, I know that Andy Holt and I talked the other day, and he has an idea of having a Pick Tennessee building that could have that in there. That could definitely happen. What we're talking about is having another barn in the complex up there that has a Learning Center capacity in it. Whatever Andy does down there, that's gravy, if that's what they choose to do. So that would be in addition to. Yes, sir.
It'll have a lot of the same things that would be in this building on a larger scale. And it would also have Ag Center offices, it would have fair offices, it would have FFA museum, a 4-H museum. It's a thing to showcase agriculture for the whole state, plus meet Wilson County needs at the same time.
But not necessarily is it a hatchery and that kind of stuff.
Yes, it would have a section in it on
He
that.
didn't have it, when we talked, there was nobody there to run that on a
Well, there's
day-to-day
nobody to
basis.
run it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
One thing I wish you would address, Mayor, we've been down this road trying to work with Mr. Holt and the state before, and we spent a year waiting on an answer, and then right at budget time, we were told there wouldn't be any funds for last year or this coming budget year. I can't speak for them, but we worked with them and tried to go that route. I mean,
And so, in his conversation of the day, that was on the docket, and of course, the flooding that happened took some of that money away. He still hopes to get that, that would be his intent.
This was in last year's budget.
It is a dream and a hope for his, much like what your dream is. He wants to do that, would love to do that here, and that's why I said a while ago, anything I take from the state, in my opinion, is just gravy for us. If we get it, we get it, but I don't count on it until I see it happen. Mr. Lee?
Well, I guess, curiosity question, the night we had the meeting up here and discussed it, I guess I was under the impression then that it was going to be something that Josh, the Ag Center, would be using that building other than fair time or a few special events. And then that, I guess that we would, the Ag Center would be reaping some benefit from it. And now I guess I'm a little bit, with what Tommy said, is it a full-blown Tim's building?
No.
So so I can clear that up for you. So there is not going to be, the building that's built is the Ag Center's building, okay? If Mr. Edwards or anybody else wants to use part of it, they're going to go back there and see Miss Donna, and she, just like they do the Tennessee Made building that was furnished by the state money. So it is our building, and it needs to be a building that can be used. The hatchery and stuff in there will be used if somebody's there to run it. That was the conversation that John said, if there's nobody to run it, then it becomes an empty room. How can I use that? But you also heard him say, if you guys vote to do this, I'll find some uses for that. Now, the best use would be another barn, just like he's got. But to have something special, then it's gonna have to be different on the inside. And that's where he said, hey, look, if it's gonna be special on the inside, I wish it could be somewhere else because it doesn't fit right here. The same thing that Quentin
Well, I remember
conveyed to us a
having
long
some
time
discussions
ago.
about some additional tie barn space and
Yeah.
some things that we could use.
Yeah.
So just,
And there's got to be a way for us to come together and make this a win-win, because we all need extra space, and we all need extra barn. And somebody somehow is going to have to say, okay, I'll give in to that, and let's make that happen. And that's my hopes for tonight, is to start the conversation, have the meeting again, and for you guys to talk and find a happy medium. But, I mean, this is 7 years that we've had this conversation, and so it would be good to move forward. And again, we have to do what's best for the Ag Center, which you said, all you said you're for. Whatever the state, Mr. Holt does, that's gravy. We're happy. Glad to have them as a partner, but I can't demand anything out of him, and I don't count on anything until he comes forth and gives us what he's got. Other questions?
Can we give him a chance to go ahead and address the committee?
If you would let me finish, then I'll be glad to let him address it, because I think, again, as I said, that only muddies the water for me. I can deal with what I got to deal with and what I control, and I don't control anything else. Yes, sir.
I don't have a question, I just have a couple of comments. If we're gonna build a building, where we're talking about building right now, and it's gonna be the size of the Q barn, then we don't have a problem with having to move that fence all the way across the road and put in a bunch of additional gates.
We do.
We do?
Yes,
We do? Okay.
Even if we put the side of the Q barn there, I still gotta move the fence and the road, correct?
Well, as you can see on this right here, if this, is accurate, which I haven't, Jerry, he came out there and did that. But I think that where the yellow mark is, I mean, I'm looking at that, are you pretty agreeable with that, Tommy? Be pretty close. But then so that'll be the corner of the barn. So then from there, however many feet of concrete that, that would come out for the, handicap accessible area, which gets on out in the road, which, as you can see from there, if it was, that would, obviously, you could, the fence part looks to me like would not have to be moved.
So you don't think, I was thinking the fence did
And
have
like
to
I
go.
said, Jerry, I asked him yesterday.
Yeah, I agree.
I was thinking it would be moved.
What was that, what would you say, would have to be moved, or wouldn't have to be moved?
Well, I mean, with this yellow line, it's not showing the concrete, that comes out, like it's gonna have handicap ramps, to get up, and the big front. So, that's not accounted for in this 225. So I mean, it would be, this is the road, our current, as far as our perimeter road, which, as our very first conversation, I told him, the livestock complex, it has a fence around it for a reason, it has.
It does.
It has a road going around the perimeter for, obviously, for emergency vehicles, so on and so forth. I mean, that's a gotta have, that's not a want, that is a need.
And for those of us that's been around since the inception of that area over there, we know that one of the first things that we said was it's got to be fenced in. We gotta have it fenced in where we can control the cattle in there, and we can control the people that's going in and out of that facility. Now, I don't think there's anybody, Mayor, in this room that's opposed to Tim having the building, that he's thought about and dreamed about and wanted to make it be a reality. But where the type of building that he's wanting to build with all the things in it that, the hydroponics, that kind of thing, the work chickens and raising chickens and that kind of thing, it doesn't need to be over there in that area. There's enough stuff going on over there on a regular basis with having another big building like that in there. And logistically, it just is not gonna work. And we got ample room here in this 270 something acres that we've been blessed to have, that he could build the building that he wants and have access to it whenever he wanted or whenever he needed it and if he wanted to put somebody in there every day, he could. But over there, that's not gonna be the case. It's simply because of all the other activities that Josh and the Ag Center has going on over there.
No question. And we had that discussion early, and it would be better for him to be somewhere out for this. If it actually, and again, you're talking about hatchery, hydroponics and all that, and if there's no people to run that and it goes away, it's just a big barn somewhere else, then it don't happen. But, I don't want, here's what I gotta go back to. So, I know exactly what you said because we had those conversations. But again, I've got a commissioner that wants to build a learning center there in the complex. You guys would like to say, yeah, you're good with the complex as long as it's the size of the Q barn. That's what I want you to go away and work on for the next couple of weeks. The barn itself, as far as moving the fence goes, if it would have been put down here before we flipped it, it probably would have been fine. And we all flipped it because we said that was the right thing to do. So that's what pushed this road out, and that discussion happened at that time too, with the committee. Hey, when you move it up the hill, no, you're gonna do this, no problem. The director wanted to move it, and we moved it. It was a thing to do at that time.
And I know this is a vision of Tommy's too. And Tommy said it very well whenever we first started here tonight. Tommy made the comment, this is a building like this, not out here now. And it is.
Okay.
It's gonna be a building that's not like it is out here. And it needs to have in my opinion, it needs to have its own identity wherever it's at. Where people, when they come here looking for it, then Gail's digital sign down there can direct them to where to go to.
No question. And what I would hope, instead of having this conversation here for a long period of time, is that you guys talk about that when you leave here. And I've kind of redirected, no harm meant, Mr. Edwards, towards you, but I've changed it from Mr. Tim's building to our commissioner's building, okay? And just that way we kind of get away from
Barry,
that.
this is the citizens' business.
It's all,
I understand that,
Not
but yeah.
Commissioner, not Mr. Edwards, and let me say this, as good a friend as I am with Tim Edwards, I'm thick and thin, but this isn't Tim Edwards' building, and we don't need to refer to it that way. Tim is a brain behind this, he's been dedicated all along, but it's not Tim Edwards, and we don't need to refer to it that way.
and I don't think.
That gives the wrong impression altogether.
And nobody, I don't know of anybody that's in this building right now, tonight, that's opposed to it, Tommy. You know, and Tim, I mean, we don't have to refer to it as Tim's building anymore, but there's been a lot of people that's made donations to this building,
That's exactly right.
including my family. So, I'm all for it, but I just don't think that that's the place for it, the size of it is, and with all the logistical things, and I'm saying this right now, right here in front of everybody, with the problems it's gonna cause, with the traffic and the egress, ingress, and everything over there, and with people that do come to visit this building, it's gonna make it harder on them, and it's also gonna make it a whole lot harder on the people over there having an event and to control what they're trying to do. And like I say, there's ample room here, y'all, for this barn to be somewhere else and be in a good location where it can have its own identity
Non-parking area.
and everything. And Tommy, we all know where, you know, we've got plenty of room here to do that.
So again,
And the infrastructure's already there. The
So
water,
again,
the sewer,
yeah.
electric, it's all here. It's just a matter of agreeing that it probably really don't need to be over there.
yeah. So again,
Both the building.
I got it. And what I was trying to get away from is everybody giving their opinion and a discussion about things I've heard for 7 years. I mean, I got it. I'm with you. I don't want to rehash it. I agree with everything you said. At the end of the day, we have to leave this room. It ain't going to work unless you have a compromise, and somebody's going to have to compromise. And if you want the building, and you want the learning center, you're going to have to come together and figure out what that is. And that's going to happen when you're away from here and discuss it and come back with a plan. And that's, I can't solve it for you. I mean, I could do it if I wanted to do it. If I just said, hey, I'm the king and I'm gonna do this, it don't work.
Well,
So-
I'll tell you one thing. Go away from here and discuss it, and there can't be no counting the votes, because that's a violation of the law. So can't be no votes asked for, no votes taken unless we're in an official meeting.
Correct.
So you can have a discussion you
I'll say,
want to.
I'll say we plan another meeting to come back pretty shortly, and that's the only thing on the agenda, because that's why I just leaned over and told him, I said, Commissioners, we can't talk about it one-on-one.
But there are things that, I mean, you can talk about it out there without collecting votes. I mean, I can have a conversation with him about what do you think about this, or I have a conversation every day with Josh.
It don't-
I have a conversation with Mr. Jones about, this is what he wants. So I mean, the compromise has gotta happen.
Well-
And so I mean, that's
One more
the
thing.
piece you gotta figure out, what you're happy to work with.
Me and William can talk about it all we wanted to, or Terry, or Mr. Hobbs, or Mr. Evans. We can talk about it all we want to, but they can't talk about it among themselves.
Correct.
Because if you've got some naysayers out here that don't like what we're trying to talk about, like what we're doing, first thing they gonna do is they gonna tell somebody. Well, yeah, they're all running around back
That's why I
there
think, that's
talking
why I
about
think we should have
So
a separate meeting with the
Yeah.
agenda only to talk about this and
it's,
allow some time.
the bottom line is, Mayor, we're all for it. I don't think there's anybody against it. It's just a matter of the location.
Bottom line, is compromise.
Yeah, and
Until somebody is willing to say that we're gonna put it over there and we're gonna make, we're just gonna make a big cluster around everything else that's going on. Or somebody else says, well, maybe we would be better off down here having a place on our own that we could use anytime we wanted to. And then when it gets down to the nuts and bolts of it, then we gotta start talking about, we just approved a status quo budget here tonight, but we gotta put some money in there of what it's gonna cost to keep operating.
Sure.
And if we're gonna have hydroponics and that kind of thing in there, we're talking, I guess, about water and heat and cooling year round.
You have to have employees there too. There are a couple of employees.
I think Mr. Edwards probably could get volunteers to do what he's going to do down there. I don't know.
Terry?
I've been on this committee since 1994. Served active on it for a number of years until I've been ex officio for a few years. And I feel like as an ex officio, I should be able to advise those on the committee because I've been around and being a part of the fair even longer than that. I manage the livestock events that happen in that facility right there, those barns you're looking at. And last year was the first year we were able to use that new building right beside of the red drawing there. Really helped improve the room that we need. Really helped us. I've studied this barn frontwards and backwards for a while. Tried to work with Tim on it. As Wilson County Promotions, we've really not had any input on the design of this barn. We've tried, but Tim hadn't wanted to listen on this. He stepped away from us and formed his own board, his own committee, and wanted to do his own thing. And that's the reason we've had to make some hard decisions we've had to make. I will tell you, we are going to have an Ag Learning Center, and we're going to have one this year in an existing building we already have. We're going to move some things around and make it work. And we really hope we're going to put this on steroids and grow it and make it much better. We've talked with Tim about possibly putting some TV screens and rolling some live video footage that will roll constantly, that anyone that walks up can see a birth of a specific species of an animal, farm animal if they care to. This is the year of pork. We're going to really showcase hogs, pigs, that type of thing. We've got somebody that really wants to help us on that. He's the largest hog producer in the state of Tennessee. Sells over $1 million a year. That's pretty big. So he wants to help us in any way we can. The Tennessee pork producers are going to work with us on that, help us do signage and tell some statistics on hogs and how many is sold in Tennessee and what the cuts of the meat are, and not everybody knows that, like Tommy and I do. He sells hams and I make sausage, but we want to educate the public, not only the children, the adults as well. We're also going to have some other animals in there, some cattle and and dairy, and we've got those alliances with those to help us with that, okay? So we're gonna continue a learning center, okay? But that barn does not fit where it's proposed to go as far as the fair is concerned. Because I can't do anything with it, with permanent structure in there, that I can't use it, especially since I've got that other tie barn that was completed and we used last year for the dairy show. We're gonna use it for some other shows this year. We just didn't have time to schedule that last year to make it happen, but we were able to move the dairy show to the last weekend. Really helped with clean up and that type of thing, so that was huge. But our livestock shows continue to grow. We're in between Louisville and Perry, Georgia, and those are the largest livestock shows that happen in Tennessee. We're trying to educate the public, and we're gonna do so again this year. I just want y'all to know, we're gonna do an ag learning center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
I will say, I have been involved with this since 2018. I have talked it up around the world. I've talked it up over the state. I have encouraged people to come to the fair. I don't appreciate y'all saying that we said something bad about y'all. We have never said anything bad. We had millions of people asking us why we were not having a live feed. Giving them an honest answer. I'm an honest person. The executive board made the decision not to have a live feed. That's okay. Come to the fair. So they all came to the fair. Y'all had to make signs to get them to the birthing barn. It's not a competition, y'all. It's something we wanted to give back to the community. And I just don't understand why everybody can't get along.
Any other questions for me? So all I ask for you to do is to go out and think about this and find a way to create a learning center. Not that you're going to have one during the fair. What his vision is one 365 days out of the year that works with this man's operation out there. And that's what we've got to figure out how to do. Come back in a couple of weeks. We can have all the I'll come back and be with you, and we'll try to figure out something to move this forward and kind of quit talking about it because it's been a long time in the process.
Now I'm going to come to my statement, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Sort of reply to what Kelly said. I want to word this and not be offensive in any way, my opinion. But Wilson County Promotions was very much involved with this until it sort of changed focus and it didn't suit y'all any longer. Y'all had obligated $100,000 towards this project. Is that correct? Is that correct, Tim? When it didn't suit you any longer, you withdrew your funds and obligated it to another project at the Ag Center. And that's okay. I defended you at that time. So y'all have the right to put your money in the direction you want it to go. But you talked about you didn't have a lot to say about the design. Well, when you pick your money up and leave, that kind of, I don't want to say it doesn't give you the right, but it's kind of like you walked away from it, or promotions did. I don't mean you personally, but, and I just want to make that plain. I don't think you were tried, the promotions were tried to be excluded from the design of this building.
Well, the previous Ag Center Director, Quentin Smith, Tim, Randall, Jimmy, and we've had tabletop discussions and tried to work on plans that worked for us during the fair. And it needed to not only work for us during the fair, but it needed to work for the Ag Center. It needs to fit what Josh can do out there now. You know, we are struggling right now for parking back there. This really highly affects parking. Another reason that building don't need to be there, because if Josh has got a huge Hereford show going on, Angus show or whatever, and something else is scheduled in that building, where are they gonna park? My understanding, and the agribition has dwindled a little bit for several reasons, because cattle prices has got so high you can sell them at home now cheaper than you can support a sale like the agribition has been doing over the last several years. But my understanding that parking lot was full for it, and it's smaller than it's been being. The fair, we've had to logistically make the horse shows happen 2 weekends before the fair opens, so we can use those barns to get the horse events out of the way. We've got a huge barrel race, pole bending that we do the first weekend in August. And the fair don't open until August the 14th. We give those children tickets to attend the fair, come back, because we want you to be at the fair. So we do that. We do the mule show on the second weekend, Saturday, and then we have a large youth horse show on Sunday, before the fair ever opens. We get those events out of the way. Now these livestock shows are beginning to get so big. We're gonna, with this Massey property that we just cleared and attached to the fairgrounds off of Peyton Road, that we hope we bring in fair traffic and kind of QR line them to get cars off the interstate and off the main road more. We're gonna be looking at moving some of the carnival parking, their trailer trucks and their things that they had been parking back there, move them over there, out of the way. They won't need them again until they get ready to leave our fair. So we're gonna do that. Hopefully open up more parking over there for livestock. But that's a struggle we're having. That's a great problem to have, growing pains, but this barn just does not fit because of the interior design of it. You know, it just, that's all you can do with it is that. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it somewhere else, and I hope we can really pull it off big.
Tommy, I think some of those letters you got, some correspondence there on it where we attempted to deal with some of the points you made there all going. Where we were trying to
I
get
can't
there.
hear you, Jimmy, I apologize.
I think the letters you got right there document where we were trying to get input into it on it, and we were trying to work together to do some of that.
But still,
I think you'll see that paper trail
And I
there.
agree with that, and that gets back to the mayor's statement about we've got to find compromise some way, somehow.
Compromise is the key
But
word.
compromise is not completely one-sided, we all know that.
I agree.
But like I say, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but when you pick your money up and head in a different direction, I don't know that you really have a reason, a legitimate right to say you weren't involved. I mean, you chose to walk away from it.
We weren't involved prior to that, that's the reason.
And I can't state about that, but I know that you were involved, you obligated the funds, and it became apparent that you weren't interested in what was to be built, and you redirected the funds, and we'll leave it at that, because that's the facts of it.
So what I want to do is kind of close our comments right now if I can. And when we come back, I think the deal is we've got to find a solution to get what we want to get, which is a learning center there of some kind if it's possible. And whether we build this barn here or we don't build that barn, I have no doubt that there'll be another barn built in this complex because we need more barns to have what we're going to have. So one's going to go there at some point. We're always going to have a need for parking. I understand that. But you work towards a compromise. And when we come back, I want to stay away from, because I think people have come to me a little bit and said, I don't like going here because we're arguing. Arguments with the fair and other people, y'all can have them, but this is not the place for it here. And any other comment, we have the business to do of the Ag Committee, and that's what we got, and I have to get away from, let's argue about this and argue about that. Y'all can have those, and I'm fine, but this is not the place for it in here. So I want us to come back. I'd like to have some positive comments, some solutions, and stay away from the ditch and stay on top of the road. I'd like to get out of here if you don't.
Well, I just was gonna ask a question. I guess we've got a man here from the state. If we're trying to compromise, then we can't talk, how do we put this together? Yeah, I need some more information, yeah.
We need information.
You can talk, and Mr. Hope can talk when we get through here, because the chairman will call on him.
Okay.
Again, I caution you that what me and Mr. Holt have talked about, whatever he does and whatever the state has done for us, that's gravy, guys. It's not something that we control, not something I can bank on. Hey man, I hope you get this done, because if you're gonna do this, we're gonna do away with this. That don't exist. When we see a Tennessee made building and it happens, that's great. But before then, I can't count on it. So he can, and I'm sure he has lots of dreams, because me and him have talked about some of those dreams and things that he would like to do. But we've got to deal with the issue that we have at hand and the things that we actually control. Okay? Anything else for me? So I know it's late and now we need to go. 2 weeks, come back and help me find a solution so we can put this one to bed, please.
Let me add a positive note.
Yeah.
In the state budget, and it's, whenever it gets approved on it, we did, John Rhodes has twice got us $2 million, $4 million to work on paved road on it. And we did get an additional three and a quarter that's in the state budget to finish out that paved road on it. So we've been at the trough. We've been at the trough numerous times on it, but whenever that thing gets approved on it, we do have the rest of the money to do the paved road on it. So some good news for tonight.
We appreciate the leadership and you took in helping us to make that happen.
And then also the paved road improvements in the parking lot area was also that we met with the other day. We got a plan for that moving forward, so that's a good thing too.
Drove 1,000 miles, what are you gonna tell us?
I didn't mean to cut you off, I just didn't get me out of the way.
You want me to say something, Chairman? You mind if I come up there? So first of all, I'm Switzerland here, okay? So as a former member of the County Commission in Weakley County and former member of the General Assembly, I love to see this go on because I think all too often it doesn't happen. And I was told early on in my political career that conflict is inevitable, combat is optional, and you all are not combative with one another, you're just in here talking. And I appreciate that, and I think that's how you're going to come up with the best solution. Again, the sunshine laws sometimes complicate that. But all that said, as Mayor Hutto referenced, I think everybody in this room has huge plans for the fairgrounds. That's how I refer to it. If that's offensive, that's not intended to be. But that's just kind of what I think of when I think about, you know, the piece of ground that we've got there in Wilson County. And if it wasn't called the Wilson County Tennessee State Fair, I wouldn't be here, wouldn't be welcome here, and might not be welcome regardless. But at the end of the day, I think there is a way, and I think and Tim and I have talked about this at length, that there's a way for us to all benefit from whatever decision is made. And really this kicked off with Helen and Randall and Terry took me to Georgia and they said, look what they're doing down here. Look what they're doing in conjunction with their Department of Agriculture in Georgia. And they do have a Georgia-grown building at that. And it's not a state fairgrounds. I don't even really know how to describe it, but it's just a big fairgrounds that they have in Georgia. And we looked at that and said, we can do this. We can do something like this that has, and they did. They had the most professional birthing area in there. It's so professional that on one end of this building, they're doing this activity, and 3/4 of the way on the other side of the building, they're selling retail food, kind of like the way we've done in the Pick Tennessee Products area. And so, we'd love to see and be a partner with everybody on trying to make something take place here. And again, I don't think of whatever we're wanting and this building as necessarily as competition with one another. I'm just looking for what's the best solution, what's the best investment for Wilson County, what's the best investment for the state, because if you all didn't know, we have the fourth most attractive fair in the United States. And really, I'm not going to be pleased until that's number one. I mean, it's a huge economic opportunity that you all have in Wilson County. We just want to partner with you on that. I don't want to steer that. I don't want to direct that. I just want to be a partner on that. We did ask for $30 million in this budget that'll be voted on here within just a couple of weeks probably. And we didn't get the money from the governor or the General Assembly. So I'll throw them both under the bus a little bit. But what we are hoping is that we get the chance to ask for that money again. And that's the intention, is to ask for at least that much money. Because whether it ends up being a building that includes a birthing area or whether it's just another large, very enormous structure that can be used 365 days of the year, that's the intention and that's the goal. So the goal is not to in any way subvert anybody's plans. It's just to come along and try to, that rising tide hopefully will lift all the ships that have interest with the Wilson County Fairgrounds. So I don't know, Mayor, if there's anything else specifically that you'd like to hear or any questions. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
appreciate your partnership and what your investment has been over the past several years for the Ag Center. And we know you're a partner, and we're glad we got you.
Yeah, and I will say, it's not just a partnership with finances. I have put blood, sweat, and tears into that fairgrounds too. So we've definitely enjoyed our partnership, and I love to see the engagement. I have a healthy respect for the county mayor, the city mayor, and everybody that puts that fair on, because it's a monstrosity. And the number of volunteers that help put that on, and then all the other activities that go on every other day of the year, I wish every county put as much focus on that enormous, as Helen calls it, the largest outdoor classroom in the state of Tennessee. I wish every county had that and didn't shy away from agriculture. You all constantly keep a light shining directly on agriculture and forestry, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. That makes my job a lot easier. So, anybody have any questions? You want me to take questions, or have I said enough? Okay, I think you're saying go sit down.
Need one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.